past 15 months, but it means that our project, we're all the more important, that's what we feel. Our work, in a sense, our second life's work is now very much needed.
And first of all, I want to make it absolutely clear that the fact that things today seem so much less cheerful than they did in 1992 has nothing to do with the Europaeum. Though we hope that we can stop any further deterioration in the next few years.
Good evening. My name is Derek Lam. I'm so glad I can be here. And well, the first thing, happy birthday, Europaeum. What is the young people is doing in Hong Kong for democracy and for freedom? So why I'm here today again? Because Joshua lost his freedom.
So let me start my contribution by thanking Europaeum for inviting CEU as a special member for the next year. About a few months ago, a new law came out that demands new requirements from foreign universities, and if they don't meet them, then the operation of license is withdrawn after 1st of January.
So many friendly faces, so many memories, and mixed feelings. One of gratitude. I was a penniless refugee from communism in this town once, and I had no more hope of going back to a free country than you are entitled to today.
The cradle of populism is prejudice, and that's where we have to get in. Having made those two comments, I want to go completely sideways to something that changed my own thinking.
The focus of today's session is following on very much from how do we safeguard, we started yesterday, how do we safeguard free speech on campus?
In a parallel world, which was very much preoccupied with freedom of expression, but in a different context, and that of journalism. So I thought I would approach the subject today in a slightly lateral way.
Of experience of talking to Chinese university leaders, and their position, of course, is somewhat different to Hong Kong university leaders. So maybe we can save this for discussion, because I wanted to play a little bit the advocatus diaboli here and talk about something else, about us.
Free speech has always been contested territory whose boundaries were fought for and against across time.
And he asked me to say how much this network is important for our university. This is probably one of the most important networks to which we participate.
Is how do we resist new forms of government control? I actually think it's more complicated than that, because I'm not convinced that government control is legitimate in all cases, as will be seen from what I have to say. There is a real debate to be had.
I had never thought that being almost 60, I would be the generation of my son doing what I had done exactly 40 years ago when I was 18, for exactly the same motto, liberty, freedom of expression, and I think that my colleague here, Josep Ferrer, did as well.
We are clearly now, in this decade, we have come into some kind of a crossroads in Northern Europe, and especially in Finland, to a certain extent in Denmark, and perhaps to a lesser extent in Sweden and Norway, because of the relatively better financial positions and the ability of the government to fund their public higher education institutions still and even expand that funding, which is no longer the case.
Something came to my mind. I remembered something my old friend Masateru Baba, a Japanese sociologist from Nagano, once told me, and he repeated, he said, Valdemar, investment into higher education is investment into consumption.
From yesterday, what Radek Sikorski said about, there's quite a few bitter remarks about the condition of Polish education and science.
We are the universities and celebrating the 25th anniversary of Europaeum, which we doing the intensive work, plan many and do act in many seminars, lectures, other activities.
That we have to remember in relation to any discussion at a level of Europe that Europe has been responsible for two of the major tragedies, at least two of the major tragedies of the 20th century, and that the EU was partly formed, of course, to deal with that.
When Saul Perlmutter, who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2011 for his research into the expansion of the universe, and he wrote an article which basically argued that you can't order up breakthroughs. You can't order up breakthroughs, and he was trying to explain the whole process of how he'd arrived at some of his Nobel Prize winning work.
But I do think that for me, at least, part of the point of the European, and certainly part of the point of its founders, was the celebration of European Enlightenment values.